Namaste everyone. We will continue reading Bodhayanti Parasparam Volume 2, clarifications. I think we read till page 90 last time. We'll continue with levels of consciousness. Page 291, Bodhayanti Parasparam Volume 2. The conception of human consciousness capable of being explained by the three levels of Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. We may use any terminology we like as Daivi, Manushi and Asuric, etc. Really does not work in actual sadhana. I have found at least 10 shades in our consciousness, which I prefer to put it as levels of our being. The levels below the human are as follows. Human level. When we feel that we should firmly uphold the 5 precepts of non-injury, non-killing, non-stealing, non-lying, non-sexual misconduct, and not taking intoxicants are in the human plane. That we are not always successful in doing so is the awareness which propels us further in sadhana. Asuric level. When we cultivate the qualities mentioned for the human level and do good karma, but constantly harbor the attitude of competitiveness and anger and arrogance, we tend to be asuras. Awareness of this folly alone can lift us up and take to sadhana seriously. When we fail to do so, we live in the asuric level only. Pishacha. Pishacha level. When we indulge in selfish craving, feeding ourselves by deceiving the group, we are only in the Pishacha level. We should remind ourselves of the true level to which we are entitled, at least the human level, so that we come out of this. This is the level to which most of our gurus belong, however horrid it is to think so. Animal level. When our actions are out of ignorance, stupidity, error, and evil, we are in the animal plane. And it is necessary that we should take to Manana and Sravana to lift us out of this level. Company of masters is an excellent method provided. Company of masters is an excellent method, provided we have also the wisdom to know the greatness of the master. Hell level. When we disrupt or slander the master, good souls, and commit evil acts, we live in the hell. This level makes us feel the giddiness, utter restlessness, and a feeling of reeling, etc. Because this is totally against the order of nature, and we should attend to cleaning thoroughly and also pray with a feeling of repentance and also resolve without any conditions not to repeat such acts. Once the insult is done to the master, it is really difficult to come out of it, and only after sufficient suffering we can lift ourselves to the higher plane, that is the human. The realms above the human level are first one, Deva level. When we cultivate the 5 precepts of the human levels and also are devoid of greed, anger, gossip, slander, and delusion, we enter the realm of gods, of Devas. That is, we are granted work by the master for his purpose as he deems fit. Brahmanda level. When we are devoid of fear of death and birth and desire to get liberated, and do so, we are residents of Brahman. Higher approach becomes possible only when the aspiration of realization gains a strong hold on the consciousness. Parabrahmand level. When we know the causal condition of all phenomena and enjoy solitude and think stillness is the best, we are residents of Parabrahman. Higher approach becomes possible only when we learn to yield to the will of Master in all respects. Fourth, Prapanna level. When we have learned by practice that by giving we transcend the stinginess and craving, by upholding discipline we transcend destructiveness and sin, by patient forbearance we transcend anger, by energetic sadhana we transcend laziness and sloth, by meditative concentration on Master we transcend scattering and oblivion, by wisdom we transcend ignorance. When we are established in this realm, we are devoted to Master and are potential masters. Fifth, realized level. When we know that all sentient beings have the nature of the Master and the true thusness is everywhere equal, and know and act as if all sentient beings are sharing a single essence, and we know that everyone is a Master who is willed, and we work incessantly for the salvation of all the time, we have realized our potentiality and we are what Master calls real man. I will take a pause here. If you want to put something, please unmute and
this is something interesting to note with there, that like within this organic form, the human organic form, the pishacha level, asuric level, animal level, hell, and deva levels, within this organic form, everything is present. They are not somewhere far off. Normally, the way they are depicted, within this form, everything is present here only.
yeah, that is what Sir has said. 10 shades in our consciousness.
Because normally we think only after death somebody become pishacha or he goes to hell. But while staying in the human body itself, depending upon what level of consciousness one is operating on, we have pishachas and people burning in hell right among ourselves only. And at the same level, we have devas and prapannas also with us.
There are also hints given to identify when we fall to any of these lower levels on how to come out of that. So, one thing which I feel we have to discern from here is in our own thoughts, we feel that these shades of consciousness are sometimes dominant. And at the end of each of these paragraphs, Sir has given hints that we have to be aware of these negative levels also, and then pray to the Master, repentance, and then awareness of the presence of Master. Those are the hints he has given us to come out of these levels. So, like human level, we are not always successful in upholding these 5 principles. And that is what should propel us for taking sadhana seriously. Animal level, he says, company of masters is an excellent method, provided we have also the wisdom to know the greatness of the master. And to come out of hell level, we should attend to cleaning thoroughly and also pray with a feeling of repentance, and also resolve without any conditions not to repeat such acts. I feel this is good to at least be aware that we can fall to these levels and discern that we have fallen and then do the right steps to come out of it. Anybody wants to add anything, or should we move ahead?
As you rightly pointed, essentially the purity levels, what we have to improve on, and probably the cleaning methods which you are provided to us are the best means, and these pointers which are given by Revere sir are quite helpful. If at all one can recollect them at regular intervals, probably that will help.
Right. At the higher levels also, there are hints like Deva level, when we are devoid of greed, anger, gossip, slander, delusion, that is when we can claim to be at this level.
Both
And,
had,
yeah, go ahead, brother.
I was just pointing out one thing. Both at Asura and Deva level, Sir has pointed out that one has to first cultivate the basic tenets of being human. And on like Asura level, there is a tendency for competitiveness, greed, whereas on the Deva levels, it's more of giving to the others. So the basic tenets of being human, he pointed out first. One has to cultivate those first. And then amongst the human itself, depending upon what kind of feeling you are harboring, you become either Sasura or you move towards Deva. So, and also like what you were saying, Ravi, and
Yeah.
like basic sadhana is essential, no doubt about it. That has to be there. But Sir has given very specific, pinpointed tips. Like for Parbrahmanda, he says that submission to or yielding to the will of the master is what is required at this plane. So one has to more specifically work towards that, own up that condition, that you surrender more and more to the master. So very specific hints he has given.
And also, like Pujya sir, in his article, when we are out of light, we are in darkness, and when we are out of reality, we become Saturn. So that in that article, a lot of emphasis has been put on this constant remembrance and how we can get out of different states, and that's one good article actually, like which I can continuously keep going through. So that's one of the great inspiring pointers which have got.
Okay. Should we move ahead? The dynamic interplay of the various levels of consciousness is an amusing play several times, and yet very agonizing many times. The total yielding to the master is the only way out, and how we go about it is the individual's concern. It is true that many sages and saints of the past had their sway over our consciousness, and we carry with us those samskaras. As Master puts it, the impressions created on us by the great saints are the toughest of the grossness we have to tackle with. The impressions created on us by the great saints are the toughest of the grossness we have to tackle with. Purity. It is necessary to be more attentive to his calls as we advance more and more in spiritual life. The new era of spirituality is based on the system of pranahuti, and it is nothing but having a hold on the pranasya pranaha, which is the universal prana, enjoyed by all beings, and offering the same to all according to the need. The more we stabilize in the Brahmanda, the more hold over the capacity for pranahuti. The system naturally depends on our purity in thought, word, and deed. The ultimate union is something that is only to be hoped for, as that is possible only after physical healing. Please watch yourself always and maintain the purity that is expressly needed for the purpose of onward march, which is had only through his pull. U by L. The study of the flow of consciousness from L to U in the heart is not dependent on our suggesting any flow. All thoughts in general for any person naturally tends to flow to the lower portion of the heart. The L portion is the region which supplies power to the physical and vital parts of our system. This flow has to be naturally shifted by the aspirant to the U portion, which represents, in a sense, the Rishi consciousness. Please do read Efficacy of Rajayoga carefully. Master calls this the landing place of the Rishis. If the Abhyasi is regular in sadhana, and if the trainer exerts to cleanse him, such a diversion of flow is observed. Nature of knots. Every knot has its own original condition, and that is not the ultimate condition, as many persons think. I can only guide persons in the line in which I am guided, and my effort has been only to clarify what Master has stated in his manual, as also his works. The various conditions of the knots were clearly mentioned in the books of the Master, and to some extent I tried to clarify them in my commentary. If at each center or knot the ultimate were to prevail, that is wide, then the question of nature of knots itself does not arise. various states in the Vairagya and Viveka have to come to a state of moderation. The aberrations of these states are well known to tradition and they are extolled. But the moderation we have to arrive at is possible only in this system. The same applies to the states of consciousness relating to devotion and surrender. Volumes may have to be written if one tries to explain further. Suffice it to say that continuous cleaning of these knots is meant only for the sake of finally to summarize all these conditions when the expansion is through the mind region. Access to central region is possible only when these are summarized, as Revered Babuji puts it in the book Towards Infinite. I am afraid any amount of clarification will not help in the matter, and only when the conditions of Layavastha of the knots are fully grasped, not intellectually. I am not able to understand the word mergence in the base. This is possible only when the conditions of the knots are in their original nature. A horse will be a horse and an elephant would be an elephant, and they never become base. Kindly also appreciate the statements of Lord Krishna that he is the Himalayas among mountains and Arjuna among men, etc. Perhaps that would clarify some points, if at all. Unless we initiate the value of our existence, as Revered Babuji Maharaj puts it, entry to central region is out of question. Should we move ahead?
Yeah, brother.
First knot. I shall comment on the nature of the first knot first. This relates to the knowledge relating to the Sat and Asat and Sat. It is all discussed enough in the Vedantic tradition. But any amount of intellectual knowledge does not lead us to acceptance of Sat as against the Asat. Unless the knowledge seeps into us, this is not possible. On this is based entire Vairagya. The characteristic of peace has nothing to do with the ultimate bliss. It is peace that is gained by us when we are able to develop detachment or due attachment. Restlessness will be there, and at the same time, settled condition which you may experience as peace of a kind is also there. In spiritual life, we understand many types of peace. This is the base of all. The settledness in the awareness and need to detach ourselves from the worldly and transient lies the foundation of the spiritual life. Naturally, the concepts of divine presence and peace, as is explained in books, has no relevance here. The experience of seeing colors, in this case yellow, is only an indication of the arousal of this knot. That it is not bright or tinted with red or orange does not matter. The settledness is experienced as calmness. This calmness has nothing to do with nothingness as such. The idea of merging in the condition of the knot in the real and hence to the ultimate is not clear to me. The knot comes to its original condition. Here, original condition of the knot alone is in question, and it has nothing to do with the ultimate. Okay, anybody has any thoughts on this? Should we read ahead?
We shall continue.
Move to the next stages on the path. Vibrations. There are two natural places in our body that vibrate or where there is activity. One is the heart, and another is the shikhar, where the vibrations are more clearly felt at birth. The vibration in the shikhar is natural to those who progress in the path, because with the steadiness of meditation in the heart, the other one also vibrates. The experience of vibrations during meditation is indicative of the pranahuti at work. Jerks and similar feelings are common in the path, and they are indicative of the cleaning of the nadis, spoken of much in traditional literature. It gets done naturally, nadi shuddhi, in our system, without much effort from our side. The feeling of purity gained is an indication of the starting of the yatra, though we find other centers are also activated. Jerks are due to blemishes in us which obstruct the flow of prana. Ajapa and anahat conditions do not last long in our system. Absorption. If absorption is well understood, it is a state of non-awareness. We are always in this world and shall be so till we leave our body. There are finer and superfiner states of consciousness, but they do not belong to any other world. When we talk of absorption, we should be clear as to what we mean by that. Absorbed in hearing music, doing work, etc. are understandable terms. But when we say we are absorbed in meditation, what we mean is not all that clear. There is a thought or a pattern of thoughts in which we are lost, and that indicates our level of existence. So try to note the thoughts or thought pattern into which you enter and feel absorbed, or note the same when you come back to consciousness or awareness. That gives an idea of our plane of existence. Clarifications on absorption. Question. I have absorption without consciousness. Answer. Absorption is good, but we should be aware. The Sakshi has to be there. Otherwise, it is to be concluded that we got into tamasic ananda. There is nothing, of course, you can do about that. Cleaning is the only solution that we have. So this is a good hint. Many people write that they are absorbed. But Sir is asking us to clarify what we are absorbed in. And that is, we note the thought pattern before we went into absorption or after we came out of it. Otherwise, that state is just tamasic ananda. We are not aware of what we were absorbed in. This is a good practical point because all of us like to be absorbed, but what we are absorbed in, that should be discerned. Service and sacrifice. The commitment to serve in the area of handicapped persons requires a high degree of empathy. And what the Vedic seers have said, Maitri, which Lord Buddha expressed as Karuna. For that, we require to grow in consciousness. This leads to the main point why we meditate. Ordinarily, so far as a person lives at the base level of animal, namely attending to food, shelter, and progeny, one thinks that life is only the body and its needs. No one will deny needs or drives and urges. But human beings have an extra faculty of mind and also awareness of consciousness. Mind and body are derivatives. Mind and body are derivates from our mother called Sriya, Lakshmi, Bhuma, Ammavaru, Ranganayaki, etc., which in philosophy is called Prakriti. But the consciousness is something other than mind, and that is the nature of God or Purusha called Narayana, Krishna, etc. The mind we have is bridge between the matter and consciousness. Usually, we do not know our real nature, busy as we are with the needs and urges. During meditation, when we close our eyes and try to look into our heart, we usually find a blank space, often in the color of orange or pink or reddish yellow. This is due to penetration of light through even closed eyes. It is essential that we meditate where there is light or lamp, mainly for this purpose only. This light, when we experience, we understand has no borders as we go on meditating. We also know that our sense organs and sensuous feelings do not go beyond our body, but our mental sphere, that is, our ideas and feelings, have no limitations of the body, and in fact, time or space. Thus, we become aware that our life is not limited to body, but extends far. This extension experienced during meditations, contemplations, inform us the great frontiers of our being. This is what Vedic seers said as Atman. This is what Vedic seers said as Atman becomes Brahman, greater self. I prefer to use the words particular consciousness becomes universal consciousness. But particular consciousness is more intimate because of its close proximity to body, and we tend to get influenced by it. In fact, All our problems are because we tend to limit ourselves to this particular consciousness. During meditations, we try our best to live in the universal consciousness and to practice influence our particular consciousness to expand and grow into greater dimensions. This we accomplish easily so far as near and dear are concerned, even without meditational practices. But real expansion is possible only when we try to shed our attachment to the body and near and dear. This is what technically Vedantin is called Viveka and Vairagya. But there is no negative factor in Vairagya as we are getting attached to the universe. This is what our beloved Babuji stresses. Universal consciousness has got along with it universal responsibilities also. It is necessary that we dwell in him more and more so that we may be used by him for his purposes as he wills. Our will has to get replaced by his will, and then real life or life in life starts. Okay, should we move ahead? All right. Method of serving. This includes introduction to the system, individual sittings, group sittings, and other works of nature that we do. For this, the foremost consideration is that one should think that master in his form and person is doing this. To maintain this thought during the period of work will only be failure if the proper orientation is not there. It is not enough that we suggest to ourselves that master is doing the work. One should clean himself bodily and mentally to the extent possible for him, and then feel committed to the work of the master. This again is an abstraction. He should feel how low he is to do his work and experience the gift to do service granted by him. This lowliness of his being makes it possible to enter into the field of humility. Then, having had proper orientation of submissiveness to his trainers and the master, he should offer himself, including his mind and will, to him to be used by him as he wishes and follow such directions as may be given to him. All this and much more is meant by the words that we should think that it is the master in his form and person that is working. Then he should link that person sitting before him. Then he should think that the person sitting before him is really the master, and his natural condition is that he is clouded or is enwrapped. Then attend to the work. There is a time frame that has to be worked out based on the task at hand. This becomes the first lapse. We would like to clean the atmosphere in a time frame that is convenient to us and not the requirement of the task. This is nothing but our own egoism, of course, of a higher order. This is more relevant for trainers who attend to sittings, satsangs, and other work of the master on how they should orient and what it really means to give a suggestion that master in his form and person is doing this. Sir has elaborated a lot here. Okay, we'll read further on devotion. No one can interfere with another samskaras without his consent. That is the essential truth in spiritual life. Without the basic awareness and realization of the dependency of the individual on God, there is no possibility of real devotion. Unless the Atma point is cleaned thoroughly and the nature of the self is understood in the real sense, it is not Aham Brahmasmi. It should be Brahma Ahamasmi. Devotion in the real sense does not arise. All is an expression of the divine. We are all his manifestations. We have no individual existence without him. Therefore, he is the doer in the real sense. What we appear to do is all trustee responsibility only. There are no ownership responsibilities for us. Then only formation of samskaras stop. Then only dependency is understood. That is the beginning of devotion. Surrender. Dependency and devotion pave the way for surrender. Surrender in thought, word, and deed takes us some time to develop. But if we keep the practice of remembering our master, it becomes relatively easier. Surrender becomes possible only when we surrender and not when we wish to surrender. Perfect purity, of course, is a divine gift, but efforts of attaining purity is not through words but through action. No one gets a gift when one does not deserve the same. You will not gift a pen to a person who does not write well. Devotion point is too tough, mainly because it is very subtle. Surrender never develops in the real sense unless the awareness of the master is silent. However much one may beat about his heart, work is done by the master. Work is done by the master only. Kartrutva bhava is the basic ego which never leaves unless one surrenders totally. Understanding the prayer of the system from all the levels of various koshas perhaps enables to develop this attitude. Helplessness precedes the state of surrender. In fact, it is the establishment of the helplessness deep in our heart, which is the main sadhana. Ego being what it is, feelings of confidence arising out of competence or awareness of competence arise. Allow yourself some time through contemplation, to sink these ideas or feelings in the heart. That is what I call owning up of the condition. You will agree many of the feelings listed by you cannot be totally owned up that quickly. That is the reason why we get the same feelings often. Once something is owned, it never reoccurs. It never recurs. And that is the way to evaluate our condition. Clarifications of surrender. Question. I seek your help and blessings to become deserving and worthy of His grace. Answer. God, when asked for strength, gives problems and difficulties so that He can prove our strength. Do not ask for anything from God or Master. Learn to surrender to Him all your wishes and do not suggest the solutions you like and seek them. Okay. Should we take a break here? We can read balance in the next session. Okay, we'll take a break.